All right, we're back. Sorry about that, everybody. We had some technical difficulties there, but we are back because we are nothing if we are not resilient. All right, so yes, I'm getting text messages from friends and my brother, and my brother's got is very interested in this show. He said great guest, and he said in his opinion, hold on, in his opinion, a lot of the problems that we have in this country have to do with the Calvinist roots of our colonial ancestors. Um, and
What does he mean by Calvinist?
The Calvinism was like a branch of Christianity by John Calvin, who started it in England, and it was just very this worldly focused, meaning like it was one of those prosperity gospels. Like if you're wealthy, it's because God has blessed you. If you're poor, it's
Oh
because God
yeah.
has cursed
Oh
you.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
that's why people in this country have some sort like have they align like making a lot of money and having a lot of stuff with like morality. When most people would think it's the opposite. Well, no, it means you're greedy and self-centered, and there's nothing
Yeah.
moral about that. Um, so then they
Well,
look down upon people who have less stuff and that kind of thing because clearly God has abandoned them, that kind of thing. So,
yeah, or like in this life they deserve that because in their last life they did something wrong. Yeah,
but that's reincarnation and karma and
yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah, for sure. So, but let's get back to talking about you and your art. So that's a piece behind you, right? One of your pieces.
Yes.
I can't make. I first of all, I'm like going blind in my old age. But it almost looks a like a Jesus type figure.
Well, no, it's so
Oh, okay, I
I
can't really make it out though.
it's fine. I'll explain it. So I guess I didn't go into too many details, so I won't. You know what I mean? I'm not regurgitating things, but I'm a collage artist. So as a collage artist, you take one image, which should be worth 1,000 words, and you take 1,000 images and cut them up. So really,
Oh,
the artwork should leave you like, oh man, what is this? Right? So many things going on.
yeah. So
So
we're giving them.
when you say that that piece behind me is like a Jesus figure. That's a compliment to the artist, the original artist who made that picture. But it's actually a black woman, and this is actually if you go to, which I know you haven't been to them because why would you go? But to the beauty supply stores in black neighborhoods, they sell this artwork.
Oh,
It's kind of fallen out of fashion, but when I was a child, 20 years ago, this was in all the beauty supply stores. And if you go to them, if you go to a black hair salon now, you'll see this kind of artwork, maybe, right? If the lady's a little bit older. But I use that in the middle to showcase the beauty of the black woman, which
oh,
is
nice.
something that I don't see often in art. I do see them over sexualized. I do see them,
Sure.
they're hot, right? But they're just not beautiful, right? So this picture, it's like
Right.
she's fully clothed and like you see the you see the pose. It's a very
Yep.
statuesque pose,
Yeah.
very
Mm,
holy
stand up.
pose. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So yeah, that's why she's in the middle. So thank you for noticing it. I appreciate it.
Yeah. No. Yeah. For sure. That's very cool. That's true. I mean, there's a lot of over sexualizing of women, and it just comes down with our to our like kind of patriarchal society and how we view women in this society is there was a dictionary in the late 1800s that literally said that the definition of the word wife was a husband's chattel, and chattel means property.
Yeah, women were considered property for a very long
Wow.
time. Yeah,
you know
yeah, but that and it's like for me in college, I became a part-time feminist. Okay, so I
part
coined that
time.
I coined that term. I won't claim full time because I still have kinks in my system I got to work out of being, male chauvinist every now and then. You know what I mean? Like, but anyway, the point is, my only comparison for like why I say I'm a part time feminist is because I compare what women go through overall to what black people are trying to tell people we're going through, right? So I was in a feminist class and like
Hmm.
being around all these women, they were explaining to me their experience. And it took me to realize like, oh, I am in a position of privilege as a man. Like some of the things that they were going through, I could not comprehend. And until I like let go of my like, male dominated thoughts, like, you know what, you're right. And here's a more softer example, which I love telling people because it blows my mind to this day. I'm watching the WWE, right?
Yeah.
It's one of my guilty pleasures. You know what I mean? It's like I'm a 9-year-old child when I watch it. I turn my brain off. I like watching John. I like watching John Cena, fake punch people, right? But here's a moment I had. They had a woman referee come out, and I was like, "Yo, dude, I've never seen a woman referee in my life." I was like 28. I never seen a woman referee. And it just hit me like, imagine you're watching this television show, one of the biggest, most profitable forms of entertainment, and you can't even be the referee. You can't even be the ref. Like, forget that there's no female Hulk Hogan's. Forget that, right? You can't even ref a match. Like, I'm like, wow, it's like little things like that we as men never would put together, right? You just never would care about that. But if you're a little girl and you're like, I love wrestling, I'd like to ref a match, that was not even a possibility until 2019, right. Which is, imagine how many other little spaces that women are not allowed to exist in that we just take for granted. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it's true. And it's just, again, goes back to just that prejudice, that privilege, that lifestyle, and the conditioning that you get just growing up in a certain context. What you're told is the case is what you accept to be true, and that's it. And very rarely do people question the boundaries that are set for them.
Yes.
But when it comes down to it, why can't a woman be a ref? At WWE, or you see it now in football and basketball. I mean, if you're qualified as an individual, if you're qualified to do something, why would you not be allowed the chance to do it?
And that's why I say that's the only comparable thing. And that opened up my eyes because, we all fight for our own group, whether we like it or not.
Right. No, that's
so
true.
As I was fighting for my group, like, wow, is this happening? Oh my God, another shooting, another this, man, this law is this. I had looked myself in the mirror like,
oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so like there were just little things that like my girlfriend would suggest something. This is younger me. And I would filter it through like, who does she think she is? Like younger me. You know what I mean? I'm like, why am I second guessing her when if you told me that, I probably wouldn't even second guess it. You know what I mean? I'd be like, oh, he probably knows. Oh, okay, I'll go with what he says. But back in the day, I remember that. Or like my sister would say something and it'd be like, yeah, maybe. But like if my brother said it, I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, you know what I mean? So it happens, you know what I mean? I'm glad that the world is progressing, and I'm glad that we see a lot more women in positions of power. You know what I mean? I do think that the female form of leadership is so underrated. You know what I mean? It's so underrated. Like there's a way to tell someone to do something without the tension, right? Because sometimes as a man, there's just like this like weird tension of like, if I don't do it, are you gonna beat me up? Like, why are you talking to me like this? You know what I mean? Like, and it's just this old male version of leadership. It works, but it's also like, damn, dude, you're gonna beat me up? Like, what are you gonna do?
You're gonna kick my teeth in because I didn't do what you wanted me to do. Yeah, I mean, and just like
with women, it doesn't exist though. Yeah, I'll let you finish.
No, that's true. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you up. Yeah, no, it's true. And what's more powerful in any society than mother? It's Nothing. Like one of the most powerful sociological positions there is.
And that is I don't know if you are privy to Jordan Peterson, but that's one of Jordan Peterson's main arguments against the patriarchy. He's like, men don't run anything. You know what I mean?
Dumb. Like, they just think they do.
Which honestly is a lot more true than people want to admit. Because if women said, hey, we're only sleeping with guys who do X, Y, and Z, 50% of men are going to do X, Y, and Z. Yeah. Right? It doesn't matter, right? So like, what is real power, right? Like, so it's a different, probably a 4-hour discussion on what really is power. Because women, to me, have always and will always have the power because they're the bringers of life. So no matter what, they're going to hold the keys to this entire civilization, whether men like it or not. A lot of what men do is an illusion anyway. You can drive a Lamborghini, your character is still flawed. You know what I mean? Not everybody. I'm saying your character can still be flawed, and you can be rich. Absolutely. So a lot of power is illusion anyway.
A lot of power is illusion. That is absolutely correct. And you're right. Women definitely have a lot more power than I think people think that they do. And they deserve to have even more, like you say, being in positions of like administration and that kind of thing, and CEOs and CFOs and so on, in the military, like, women are doing just fine in the military.
Yep.
You know, they can do their thing. I mean, nature provides us with certain differences between the sexes, but not very many, and not as many as we thought there were.
Yeah.
Again, there are some women that would, you know, kick my ass.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, and going back to the mother thing, I mean, you know, you see like, you know, in movies, I'm thinking of the movie, I can't remember what it's called. I can't even think of his name now. He's a comedian. Martin, what's his name? Martin Lawrence.
Yes.
There's a scene where his mother's like slapping him around because he keeps like using the Lord's name in vain. And he's like, "Mama,
Yes.
mama, mama," you know. And it's like he's a big tough guy, and he's getting this little dinky mom is just, you know, utterly dominating him. You know, that's
Yes. The power
boys
of
in
your mom.
the
Yeah, your
power of the
mom.
mom. You know, moms are
It's also like a tone of voice, right? Like everyone's mother can speak to them a way where like you're gonna listen, right? And absent of the psychopath, all of us are gonna heed to what mom
absent of the
says.
psychopath. That's right. Exactly. So, what do you hope to do with you? Obviously, you were at this event where you. This is why we're here together now. To sell your art, do you get to display it a lot? Do you have a web page or anything like that, or?
Um, you know, I get to display my art a lot during February, right? And it's a sore spot for me because it's Black History Month. So people are like, "Oh, pull out the black artist for this month," you know. So the rest of the year,
That's pigeonholing, if I've ever heard it.
it happens, you know, but I take full advantage of it when I can. Other than that, I do display my art. But here's the thing, you know what I mean? If anyone that's ever going to listen to this is an artist, right? It's almost like you can't overexpose yourself, right? Because like,
Sure.
you know, there's YouTube guys who make a video every week, right? There's this guy who makes a TikTok every day, and like there's these other artists, wink wink, who are showing you themselves all the time. So me as an artist and the things that I make a lot of furniture. I make a lot of, like you see pieces behind me.
Yeah.
I can't overexpose myself because if I have an art show every week, I become like Walmart. You know what I mean? Like I become
You become commercialized.
Yeah. So it's like I only want to do 4 art shows a year, every 3 months, right? And even that's a lot, right? Because I didn't make new pieces necessarily, right? So 2 or 3 a year is great. 4 is like perfect. For me personally, that's what I have the energy for and the time to promote and stuff like that. So yeah, so I do get out there, and I do have a website. It's QyJon.com, QyJon.com, and whoever's listening could check out my stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's very cool. QyJon.com. All right, cool. I like the name too. That's it's not exactly like it, but does that have anything to do with Star Wars?
It does not. But you are the
and this can't be the
1000th
first
person.
time you've heard that.
Yes, you are the 1000th person to bring it up. No, it's not. You know, my mom we all have Q names. So I was third in line and she ran out of the typical Q names. You know what I mean? Like my sister's name is Kirsten, right?
Oh, with a Q, that's cool.
But you see Kirsten already, you know what I mean? There's Kirstens out here, you know what I mean? So yeah, I got QyJon, you know. And it's done me, it's helped me out a lot, you know what I mean? I think it's helped me embrace being unique and embrace being different. You know what I mean?
I've never met anybody else with that name. So yes, it makes you stand out immediately, which is cool.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's very cool. What area do you live in?
I was living in Bolingbrook for quite some time, like 3 or 4 years. And then before that, I was living in Lombard for like my whole life. And now I'm in Joliet. I bought a studio, or like a big house in Joliet. It was a 2-flat. It was an apartment building. So I have a studio on one floor and I live on the other floor. So
right on. So you rent out. Oh, you have the studio. That's your studio, and then you live on the other one.
Yes. So I could rent it out just in case. And I got it too, you know, just to be economically safe. I can rent it out, right? Like let's say something happens, I lose my job or whatever. I can easily, you know, make some money on the side, you know.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. I have a, I'll expose myself. I have a buddy who's in the DOC down there, so maybe if I go to visit him, I'll give you a call. We can have lunch.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Let me know.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but well, all right. And what kind of events do you show your stuff? I mean, the whole. Let me backtrack. How do you feel about Black History Month? Do you think it's a good thing, a neutral thing, or a bad thing?
I will say this: a lot of the feelings that I do have, I have to answer at like more than one level. So like, I'll say this for the average person, I think Black History Month is very important because the contribution of Black people is so forgotten, similar to how the contribution of women is just totally erased from history. So I do think taking a moment to appreciate Black History Month for the average person is a good thing,
Yeah.
right? At the upper level, I don't necessarily like it. Like when I say upper level, I mean at the commercialized level.
Sure.
I don't like it because you could be doing things, corporations could be doing things to help Black people year round, right? I think, John Smith thinking about Black people in February and maybe, eating at his local Black owned barbecue shop. Okay, thanks. Because that's what he can do at his level, right? And once a year he can contribute. Okay, that's fine. He's an individual. But as far as like Pepsi and all that, doing commercials and all that, I don't like that. It bothers me because, they have such power. And they are the real purveyors of racism and things like that by not hiring certain ethnicities. And they're the real problem is the corporation, right? So I hate how on February or Now You Care, right? You know what I mean? Like for instance, Hulu, right? They'll show you Black stories, during not show you, but they'll promote Black stories during February.
Right.
Like you could be promoting Black cinema all year round, right? You're at everyone's home, So at the first level, love it. Average person stopping and appreciating what Black people have done, great. At the second level, it's really bothersome because it's just it's like you're playing games. You know what you're doing. You know what I mean?
They're trying to save face and make sure people think that they're
Yeah, when
sensitive.
really they're the most evil. Like you know what you're doing.
Corporations are pure evil. That's true. Some more than others. But no, that's totally correct. Like I watched an interview with Morgan Freeman. It's an older interview, but he personally had issues with Black History Month because he thought it was he didn't go into that as much depth as you just did, but he just thought it was kind of silly.
Yeah.
And he also thought it was unfair because the interviewer, and I don't know who he was, but he was Jewish, and the Morgan Freeman asked him, he's like, "You're Jewish, right?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you think there should be a Jewish History Month?" He's like, "No." He's like, "Okay, same thing." He's like, and I think a lot of it had to do with what you said. Like, why isn't this done all the time? Like, what is it? Why do you have to isolate it to 1 month, especially
Yeah.
the shortest month of the year?
Well, that's just what's funny about what's funny about it being the shortest month of the year,
What?
which I know that you may never understand.
Okay.
Black people, when that happened, or that the fact that it's the shortest month of the year, we're like, yeah, we know. Like it's just part of our existence. Like it's just part of your existence if you're Black.
Like
And
like they somebody's throwing you a bone, but it's a small bone.
bingo, but you're like, yeah, sounds about right. Like literally, that's just the way it is. Like it's a gift and a curse. Like the built-in resiliency of being Black is one of my favorite parts. Like I never grew up under the rose-colored glasses. It wasn't even allowed. It wasn't even an option, right? So it gives you this joy for life. Like no matter what happens, you're like, well, So you're like, shortest month of the year, we'll take it. Sounds about right. I mean,
Did you experience a lot of racist rhetoric towards yourself or aggressions or anything like that when you were growing up? I don't know a lot about the area like Lombard.
well, I grew up. I was very, once again, gift and a curse, right? I said that, so I'll explain. So I grew up in one of the best neighborhoods in America, right?
Oh,
like
nice.
statistically, I think it's like the 10th or 11th. Based off what website you go to, check your sources. That's one thing college will teach you. But
absolutely.
It's like one of the best places to live in America. I lived in Villa Park, which is next to Lombard and Elmhurst. So I was in a good environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my life was the stereotypical life, so to speak, right? Not much food in the house. Shopping at the Goodwill for clothes, the struggle per se. But to answer your question directly, did I experience any like racial like violence or anything crazy like that? My answer is no. I did not experience anything that was so overtly racist that I will sit here and say, this happened to me, right? Did I get pulled over more than my friends? Yes. But did I get pulled? But did I get pulled over to the point where I'm like, all right, dude, you're targeting me because I'm Black? I can't say that either. You know what I mean? There's plenty of times where the cop stopped us, and based off the way I speak, because I've always been able to articulate myself, based off the way I speak, they let me go, and then they're slamming my friend who's white on the top of the car.
Oh,
So I mean, I've seen that, you know what I mean? And there's been times where we're past curfew and they're looking at me, and once again, I'm gifted the gab. I'm up, oh, I'm right a block away, Officer Jones, come on, man, dude, you know what I mean? And he's like, all right, you can leave. But my friend, he's like, nah, man, you're coming with me. So but there were like, times in school where like a girl wouldn't date me and her specific reason was because I was black. Like that happened, but that's
oh,
like, what do you mean? Oh,
she dated you just because you were black?
no, she wouldn't date me because I was
Oh,
black.
that's even
Yeah,
worse.
like my dad would kill me, like a direct quote, like
Oh,
looking
right,
at
right, right,
me.
right, right.
So though that happened, you know what I mean? And there's like little stories, but nothing to where like I was kept out of this or
Right.
kept out of that, or I felt this, you know what I mean? The school, they recognized my ability. And although I was a horrible student because of my home life, I never felt like marginalized by the teachers or anything like that. It was a
Yeah.
wide open door for me. But once again, what I would like to comment on, just because who knows who's going to listen to this, when it comes to things like racism, there's like levels to it, right? And a person like me, no matter what body you put me in, it's like you can't box me in. Like I possess a certain type of personality and temperament and intelligence to where you just, all right, leave this guy alone. The rest of them I hate, but this guy, you know what I mean? It's like, not that I'm special, but it's just certain people you can't do certain stuff to. It just doesn't work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's really great. Where did you go to college? Where did you study criminal justice?
I went to, because I was not a good student in high school. I
Either
had
was
to,
I.
yeah. Oh, hey, but look at us now, right?
I
Look
know,
at
and
us
I
now.
ended up getting a degree in philosophy. I mean, it's about as intellectual as one gets, and I was an idiot in high school. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Well, a degree of philosophy is respectable just because, you know what I mean? To me, which people don't realize about a PhD is what it stands for, right? A
Doctor of philosophy.
philosophical doctorate, right?
Yep.
So at the end of the day, the highest level of thought is being a philosopher. And
Right.
if you're worth your weight in anything, you have some type of philosophy to your life.
Right.
I actually wrote a book called A Stone Cold Philosophy, where
You
I
wrote
took,
that?
yes, where
Nice.
I took Stone Cold Steve Austin and I broke down his promos and his life, like the character as well as a little bit of his real life, and I broke down the philosophy of that, and I live by it. You know what I mean? I'll have to send you I got copies. I'll give you a copy.
Absolutely,
But
that'd be great.
you asked me a question on where did I go to school?
Yeah.
I went to Northeastern Illinois University,
Yeah.
which is, it's not a bad school. It's just a school that's unheard of.
Right.
When I say unheard of, I mean when I was in high school, had they told me that this school existed, I might not have went to the military first, right?
Oh, you were in
Because
the military. Oh, wow.
yeah, I was in the National Guard. I was a medic in the Army for 7 years, a medic in the National Guard. Um, but I went to Northeastern because it was affordable, and the military was paying for it. It was affordable. I was able to get in based off of my GPA from my community college. I went to COD, College of DuPage, graduated, went to Northeastern, and that's where I found my love for like the academic criminal justice. Like I became more in tune with that, and I really started to like it there. So then I graduated from there in 2016. I started Lewis University in 2018 to get my master's degree, Master's of Science, and I graduated in 2020 with that.
Oh, very cool. Right on.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Yeah, a master's degree is an impressive degree, so that's very cool. And you're thinking about going on for your PhD, right? Still considering it.
Yes, I'm considering it because once again, all my teachers were saying, we need more people like you, and not because I'm black, but because of my perspective, right?
Right.
They're like, we need more people like you in the room just to help out. Also, you know what I mean, with the artwork, the goal of my life or the goal of the artwork is not to just work, right? What I want to do is create art, sell art, and then use that to put money into community organizations, right?
Oh, nice.
So that's the goal of my whole existence. And while I'm doing that, I wouldn't mind teaching, right? Because that's something that's not labor intensive.
Yeah.
I'm helping people.
Yeah.
I'm, you know what I mean? And it gives me more credibility, right? So yeah, the PhD, and also just, you know what I mean, in a bit of transparency and arrogance, it's just also, it goes with the trajectory of my life. Like I like to inspire people. I think that there'll be nothing more inspiring than me being once a homeless child at
Oh,
15 to then, you know what I mean, getting my PhD. So it's
yeah,
like I'm just trekking down that journey to, you know what I mean, reach that point in life to say, hey, not only am I doing art, not only am I doing this, like, hey, I was once here, now I'm here. If I can do it, you can do it. And I'm proving it to you through action, not just like, you know what I mean, talking.
just words. Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you, like, with your, I mean, with your experience and your degree and your perspectives on things, how do you feel about policing in America nowadays, or in
I
general?
I think that it's antiquated, but well, I won't say but it's antiquated. It's 100% antiquated. Not only is it antiquated, it's predicated on an ideology that it can never live up to. And I actually feel bad for police. I feel bad for them because they are fighting an uphill battle that it's impossible. It's impossible. Not only that, I feel bad for police because most of them have no comprehension of what they're really doing, and I feel bad for a lot of their souls when they go to rest because of the things that they've been forced to do for it. America, to me, it definitely needs to be completely overhauled. But that's just like education in America, just like everything else. A lot of things that we do, if it doesn't make dollars, we just don't care. And police have been tasked with like social control. And when I say social control, I don't mean just like targeting black people. I mean like they've just been charged with like, you know what I mean, keeping us all afraid and just going to work and shutting up. You know what I mean? So, yeah, police definitely, the policing in America definitely antiquated. And I would like to just clarify when I say antiquated, they're working off of ideologies that have been proven through criminology for the past 25 years to just not be real.
Right.
Right? It's been proven to just not be real. So imagine you have a job and your job's function is based off data from 50 years ago. Like that's what police are doing. Like, you know what I mean? Understaffed, also overworked. And my last point is that like here's an example of what should be done, right? If you shoot someone, kill, doesn't matter, if you discharge your weapon, right? You automatically should be put on death duty for 90 days. Not so we can investigate you to try to fire you, but for your mental health, right? Immediately, right? And you cannot go back to the street until you pass a mental health evaluation. And this mental health evaluation is not a punishment. It's for your benefit. How are you? You discharged your weapon. You almost killed someone. What was going through your mind? Are you
Right.
okay? You know what I mean? Things like that in every department. Now that's never going to happen in America, right? You want your police to be psychopaths and be bad, Billy Badass. You don't want cops who are considering their mental health as well as the mental health of those that they're policing. Right? That's too advanced. But that's when I say antiquated, it's like things like that. Like, why are we letting a guy who just choked someone out go to work the next day?
Right.
He needs a month off. And when I say a month off, I don't mean just like at home. He needs a month where he is just sitting down, like, or a week at least. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've really never heard any of that sort of like description of the sympathy for cops that way, but that makes some sense to me. I have less sympathy for cops than you do. Um, I do hours of research a week for probably
Yeah.
2 years now on policing in America, and I've had it. I mean,
Yeah, but my only pushback to you is who do you think's funding the police?
oh, we are
Okay, so you can't get mad at the foot soldier. You must get mad at the general. And you can't even get mad at the general because he's working for the president. And
absolutely no doubt. I
you
mean,
can't get mad at the president because he's working for, you know what I mean? And so it's like,
absolutely, no doubt. But I mean, yeah, you make a good point. I mean, at the end of the day, who lets police do the things they do are the people who make the rules. It's the legislators, the people that we elect into office, have made these guidelines for cops. 100%.
and do we elect them or do lobbyists elect them?
Well,
Like,
okay, that's a whole nother discussion. The political situation.
so when it comes to Jacob, who grew up and went to the Marine Corps and had a D average in high school, and they gave him a gun and they say, hey, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, you're fired. And your wife, Jessica, who doesn't work, is going to be out of the home. Like, I get why they get so warped, right? That's the sympathy. Like, oh, you really think you're helping, or you don't even comprehend how little you're helping, and you're forced to do it because you have no talent other than this. because being a cop is really a talentless profession.
That's for sure.
It's just, it doesn't take much, right? It's a humanistic quality if you're a good cop, but being a good cop is such a rare thing that I have to say it's a talentless profession, right? And it's all reactionary as well. Once again, it's antiquated. It's reactionary, right? So, but I feel you, but you can't be too harsh on the foot soldier. You just can't be. You got to look at them like, you know what? Because guess what? They also don't even they honestly don't even make the charges. They report the charges, and then the state's attorney decides. Right. So if you want to hate anybody, you hate the state's attorney.
Oh, 100%. And I do.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So you're on the right path then, because most people, they don't even know that. When I tell them that, they're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "It's the state's attorney who chooses." So if you're mad at anybody for the arrest and for the convictions, be mad at the state's attorney.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's true, and because the state's attorney will go after is more interested in high conviction rates than they are the truth or justice or mercy or anything like that, or actually, like you said, the humanity of the situation, the humanizing of the situation. They just what gets them reelected or what gets them promotions and raises is high conviction rates.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, which is just disgusting to me.
It happens,
Well, I mean, okay, yeah, it does. It shouldn't, but it does. Another part of philosophy, I mean, is ethics, and I studied a lot of ethics, and I guess that's a part of like where I'm coming from concerning having less sympathy for cops and these people than you're espousing. It's because each one of those people still have free will and they have the ability to choose. Because you hear a lot of cops say, "Well, I had to pull my gun." No, you didn't have to. You still have the ability to choose freely, even inside the context of the determining forces upon you and your upbringing. You still have the ability to reason and to reason your way out of these things.
My only pushback with that is the assumption that people have the gumption to actually utilize their free will.
Right. That's
right. When I talk to children, I used to work with kids in Bolingbrook. Then COVID shut the company down, but I would tell them that right now there's a guy who's a lawyer who wanted to be a surfer, but he doesn't surf. Even though he loves surfing, he doesn't surf because his dad was a lawyer, and his granddad was a lawyer, and his great granddad was a lawyer. So he's now a lawyer, even though he hates law, right?
Yes.
So he had free will, but he didn't have the gumption to go after what he really wanted. So most people live such a mediocre, like a life that's just so barren of any excitement, right? From fear of actually utilizing their free will. So I can never really, I agree with what you're saying. I understand, but does he have free will? Is he even?
No, that's a good point. I'm sorry. That's a good point. I mean, people don't really, when you study ethics, it's like in your face that you're accountable for all your behavior,
yes.
No matter what you made the decision. Sorry. And you study so many different systems of ethics, and they all include free will. Every single one. There's no such thing as ethics or accountability without free will. Because if you don't have free will, then you didn't actually do it. All sorts of other things made you do it.
Yes.
So I guess so it's easier for me to go oops, I screwed up. I own my behavior because I read thousands of pages of this stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas your token cop is doesn't realize that I can say no to this. They don't even realize that they can say no. That they don't have to act this way.
I can't give many details, so I guess I won't tell the story. But yeah, no, for real. So me, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, the gift of the curse of being black, right? So me, and I've lived the black life, right? I didn't have a dad. I lived in homeless shelters. My mom kicked me out at 15, right? Now, all those horrible experiences have built into me a certain ethical code where if I don't think something's right, I'm not doing it.
Right.
Why can I say that? Because I already been homeless.
Right.
There is no breaking me. So when I'm at work or I'm at the grocery store, if I see something that's not right, I have the backbone and the gumption to utilize my free will because I'm not afraid of the bottom. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
100% it does.
Okay. So cops or not cops, I won't even blame cops, people in any capacity who come from a position of privilege, who've never been to the bottom, are so afraid of it that they're just going to go with the flow. 100%. And it's disgusting. So they don't even have, I would argue they don't even have free will because they're too afraid of life, right? I might get fired if I let you cut the line again because I know you just went back to grab that one thing and whatever. Like now I'm invading the customer service of the people behind you, even though the right thing to do is to let you come through, right? I might get fired. If I don't pull my trigger, if I don't pull out my gun and you run away and whatever you did
it hurt somebody else.
Bingo. Now I'm fine. You know what I mean? So, right. Or even worse, if I see my fellow officer doing something and you know what I mean, I know I should tell, but if I tell, you know what I mean, I'm gonna get
right.
You know what I mean? So it's like that.
No, I mean it's possible too to have your free will overwhelmed by external forces. They call it coercion. If you're coerced into, and as much as the system is doing all the things that you're talking about, I could see that like the last thing a fish is going to notice is water kind of thing. Like the coercion is everywhere for these guys, you know, and you're like you said, they're kind of screwed because if they don't shoot at you and you go in the bad guy, if you will, goes away and does some other harm, it's on the cop. If they do shoot him, now it's on the cop too. So what are they supposed to do? You know, and you know, it's
why I said, remember, right? They have an impossible task.
You did say that, yes.
And from my master's degree, one of the greatest books ever read, I'd have to go upstairs. It was a textbook, but they literally said the philosophy of policing is impossible. It's 100% impossible.
Interesting.
And they also said if the average person knew how much crime went reported or unsolved, you would never leave your house. They're like the police. They're like this illusion of like you're not safe. You're not safe. You know what I mean? And you'll never. This is the world. You will never be safe. Or tornado comes, you're gonna call the cops. Like this is life. So, but police are there to make everybody feel safe. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's someone who you can call. Like there's somebody who's gonna figure it out. Like, come on, it's impossible.
Yeah, and I get that, but it's still I don't want to, you know, bury the issues and the problems. So like I just saw, and I don't know if you heard about this because it just happened recently. There was a fight between two teenagers in a mall.
Oh yeah.
You heard about this?
Those cops, I saw that. Absolutely.
And they sat the white kid down on the couch and then tackled the black kid.
Now here's the thing, though.
What?
Beauty of the internet. Those cops are wrong. However, let's see what the state's attorney does. Let's see if that because if at the end of the day, the white guy still gets charged.
Charged, yeah.
Then those two cops are just shitty cops. Sorry, those two cops are just bad cops. Yeah. But, you know, justice was still served, right? Because the white dude was the aggressor also. So as long as
he's the one, he pushed the other guy first.
Bingo. So as long as the state's attorney or whoever says, you know what, based off the video evidence, we're going to drop the charges, and we're going to do it on him, then okay, then it's fine. Because progression is step by step, right? Sure. So those cops, 100%. Really showcased how bad, you know what I mean, their bias is, right? 100%. Like
I'm really interested to hear their explanation.
You don't want to hear it because it's going to be written by one of their publicists or their publicity person, or you're going to get the chief.
I mean a legitimate explanation.
Yeah, no, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that.
That's too bad.
Or the police chief's going to talk about it, who wasn't even there, and he's got so much brass on his chest. Or her chest, you're not even going to be able to.
Well, the cops said they thought that they saw a knife on the young African American kid, and some bullshit like that.
Of course, absolutely. Yeah. But that video was the beauty of the camera, man. Like, oh man, love it. You know.
No, it is pretty liberating to have like everybody has a camera nowadays. That's cool because who even knows how much crap they got away with before cameras?
Oh, absolutely. You wouldn't even want to know. I wouldn't want to. I don't want to know.
It would be very upsetting. It would ruin my day, if not my year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. But and again, I don't have the answers to how to change the system so that everybody is benefiting and everybody has a better way of things, including cops and the citizens. The defunding the police and putting more resources into mental health experts to go to scenes instead of cops is probably a good step.
It's not probably. Rid of the war. It's not probably. It absolutely is a necessary.
Okay, good.
It must be done if our country is going to exist for the next 50, 100, 200 years, it must be done. It's so crucial, right, to do that, right? Because anyone who can do something heinous, there is a mental health component to it. There's very few psychopaths who are just born, and from that moment, like there's very few of the Jeffrey Dahmer types. Like,
Right, who are people who are evil just for the sake of being evil.
no, they exist
Oh
100%.
no, I know.
Yeah, but
I've known a couple.
bingo, but it's so rare. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so like for instance, I always say, the guy who shot someone from a far distance, he hit him, he killed him, but it was from a far distance. He's a killer, he ain't a murderer, right?
Okay.
The dude who kills somebody with a spoon
Takes it as or stabs you like 80 times.
That's a different breed. That's a murderer. That's who you're scared of, right? And then that guy's so rare. So rare.
That is true. No, that is true. You know, the media likes us to think that, like, you know, there's a murderer around every corner.
No. Maybe a killer, maybe a mugger who hits you too hard, you fall to the ground. Like, I get that, but the actual, like, vile human being to their core, very rare. And if you catch him early, because what happens is that you lock up the guy who's on the fence. He goes to the house of people who are just brutal. What do you think happens when he gets out? He's just more brutal. And you turn the guy who was on the fence into a monster because you never really assessed his original problem, which was probably poverty and his mental health deteriorating because of his impoverished state.
That's true. You know, and this country doesn't spend enough time dealing with, like, how to fix poverty, how to get rid of it.
Yeah,
you're right. And there's the whole redlining thing that created a lot of the bad neighborhoods and stuff like that, because people weren't allowed loans and money in order to renovate, and so everything just went into decay.
Well, it's worse than that. So with redlining, one of the way you described it is absolutely the truth, but there's a deeper element to it. Actually, they were charging black people more for the houses, and you bought the house under contract, which meant you didn't actually own the house at all, and you were just paying some guy for 30 years. So when you thought your mortgage was paid off, it actually wasn't paid off. You were just paying some guy. It's actually even more evil. And a lot of those neighborhoods, they only deteriorated after those contracts have been exposed. So that's why you see such a proliferation or increase in the 80s and early 90s of those red line neighborhoods becoming really, really, really bad, because a lot of those people start to realize that the mortgage wasn't anything. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't own the house, people are leaving and things of that nature. But a lot of people paid actually more every month than the average, white family for the same home, and didn't even own the home in those red line neighborhoods. They were still owned by other people who, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely makes sense. I hadn't heard that, but that makes sense. I have to look into that, because that's just ridiculous. And
so buying homes under contract is what it was, and it's more evil than just redlining. Not only are the property values going down, but you think you're paying for a home, and you're actually not. You're paying a guy.
That's weird.
How could you read at that level, right? This is before they made you get a lawyer to buy a house, right? This is before. You see, this is back then when, you're just reading this mumbo jumbo. You have no idea. The average person to this day has no idea what's in those thick contracts.
Sure,
before you have a lawyer look over it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So look into it. It's interesting though. It's very interesting, because
I will look in further to that, because just the basic note, like what I know about redlining is
you got the facts down. It's just deeper than that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
I do know that right after World War II, at the federal level, there was literally a map made about, like, federal loans for housing and property.
1%.
They would color code the neighborhoods, and if it was a red neighborhood, which meant minorities lived there, they didn't get anything. This is at the federal level. So, I mean, going back to, like, systemic racism and systemic issues, it being a systemic problem, is the residual of, even if the systemic problems have been erased legally, the residual effects of it are very, very much still present.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
And we will see what happens going forward. You know what I mean? I got my fingers crossed. You know what I mean? I don't.
Are you hopeful? Are you hopeful?
I had no choice.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I like that answer. I like.
No, the life that I've lived. I mean, you have no idea, like, the things that I've been through. So I've been through things so traumatic, and then my absolute sheer will and belief in myself has brought me to this oasis of life that I'm at now at 30 years old. if I wasn't hopeful, I'd be crazy. Like, you know what I mean? So like my life to me is a living testament to the things that you can accomplish and the things that you could do. So yeah, I'm hopeful because you know what I mean, I'm one of those people who hasn't forgotten that we were cavemen. You know what I mean? We don't need much. People are so confused. You don't need much. You
That's
know what I
true.
mean? Like a 10-pound bag of rice, you can live off a 10-pound bag of rice for probably a month. Like you're gonna be skinny. You know what I mean? But
But
you
you'll be
can live off
alive and you'll
of
be,
it.
nourished enough to not die. Yeah, and ten
So yeah,
pound
I'm
pack of
hopeful.
rice
I'm
is
definitely
does not
hopeful
cost
for the
much.
I'm definitely hopeful for the future. I think that um with just a little bit of augmenting the way we look at things, I think that life can be much better in America and around the world, right? So yeah, I'm not too cynical. You know what I mean? Very few things can even make me look at something like it's completely negative, just because I think humans are just so you know we have so much ingenuity. I just don't see it. I can't. I have to be hopeful.
No, and I agree. I mean, philosophically, I'm very hopeful because I think that each person, by definition, has the elements within them to do beautiful things.
Yes.
And I think that we can make the changes happen. Statistically, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I mean, but most people, when I won't say most people, a lot of people, you know what I mean. We talked about this earlier. There's a fear that they have, and they don't even use their free will, right? And so, I mean, I don't know. I pity them a lot, right? I
Yeah,
pity a lot of people. So that's why when you say statistically, that's why I'm saying this in response to that, because statistically, it's like, yeah, well, most people are just afraid, man.
right. I agree. I agree. The greatest
Yeah.
liberation is overcoming fear, which is our most primal
Come on,
emotion.
come on, So yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, hopefully, we can help people overcome their fears and live a better life. That's the point, don't you think?
Well, absolutely, and that's why what I mean when let's say my dreams come true, and I'm selling art, and I'm teaching, and I'm able to fund the programs I want to do. A lot of that is going to be to mitigate that fear. My belief in the criminal justice system, and one of the problems is that they crush these young men from the crucial age of 17 to 22. I call that the transition period.
Interesting.
No one really helps you from 17 to 22. They should, right? They just tell you to go to college, but they don't show
Right.
you other ways to live. So the organizations that I want to help fund or be a part of later in life, God willing, is to help mitigate that fear of transitioning, right? Because 17 to 22 is when you're no longer a kid, but you're not exactly a full grown adult. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? You're
Yep.
transitioning out of childhood and you're into this new, super complex, highly technological advanced world where you can just be on your phone all day, or you can study your life away, right? Like you don't know which one to really do. So I want to
Hmm.
mitigate that fear by providing tangible examples of how to make it in the adult world, right?
Beautiful.
Because if you
Beautiful.
have a tangible example, you're less scared. Oh, I can go to trade school and and do this, or I can learn how to code, get a certificate to work at this IT place while I learn more skills to then do this. Like you see, like, but you don't understand that if you're 17 and you're a C student at an average high school in America. Like that's like the world's a wide open place that you're afraid of. So I definitely want to work on that fear.
Very cool. Very cool. And let's on that note, let's end the show because I know you got something to do in about 14 minutes here.
Yes.
Um, QyJon, the icon, thank you so much for coming on the show. I had a great time talking to you, and I definitely want to have you back. And maybe we can have like an unbroken hour where we can talk some more about this stuff because you are a fascinating conversationalist.
I will. Well, listen. My ego is already huge. So, I mean, it's already huge. So I know you. I know. We're ending here. You know what I mean. I love the conversation. I definitely want to come back. You know what I mean. I've always wanted to do something like this. So once again, you're making my dreams come true. I've always wanted to be in conversation like this. I think podcasts are an amazing.
Yeah.
Another reason why I'm hopeful. Like, look at me and you. You know what I mean? We're
Right.
able to
Absolutely.
have this dialogue. So thank you for having me. For anybody listening, you know what I mean? Check me out on Instagram, QyJon, or my website, QyJon.com. And if you do follow me and you see me post, please share. Please come to the events. Please support what I'm trying to do. My only focus is making life better for all of us, white, black, red, or indifferent. So I appreciate you.
All right, absolutely. Thank you so much.
All
All
right,
right,
man.
everybody, thanks for tuning in to the Illinois Green Party series with your host, David Rich, and special guest, QyJon, the icon. Till next time, be good, be green.
All right, man. I'll see you. Thank you.
All right, man. Take care.
See you.